In this tutorial, we're going to talk about cleaning up spikes. Spikes are things that come sticking out of your objects that you really don't want, and you need to clean them up somehow. And they're always caused by bad vector files. In this example here, you see we've got a letter I that came from a font. Lots of different people create fonts, and not all the fonts are created to create 3D geometry out of, 3D models. This is really simple looking. You see we've got just some very simple straight lines. There's no control handles on these vector paths, but for some reason it's creating the spike sticking out of the object. Now when you're dealing with spikes, the first thing you want to look at is you just want to do a rendering. In this case, you'll see that the spike disappears. So that's the first thing, is do you really even need to deal with the spike? All right. Now the reason why it's appearing here and it's not appearing here is the difference between object smoothness. Now when preview is what you get when you're looking at this OpenGL view like this. All right, when you're moving it around, you're getting the spike. It's a low quality model and it's made to move and update in real time. When you hit render test, you'll get the same rendering that you do when you output the final movie. So when you go to your output and render the movie, or if you're in After Effects and you render the final frame, you're going to get this final quality. Now in this case, final is set to 50. If I take the preview slider and start moving it, you'll notice that the spikes will disappear at a certain point. If I put it at 50, then the model that I see in the preview is going to be the exact same model that I get in the final rendering. So when these two are matching, you're going to see what it is that you get in the final, and in this case you see the spike is gone. So that's a nice thing, but it doesn't show you how to really get rid of it in case that doesn't work, because setting preview and final to different numbers doesn't always work. Alright, so the next thing you would try is Spike Buster. We have a control here called Spike Buster, and that will see that appears not to work here. There's something really weird going on. However, notice this. Once we get up to 90 degrees, bang, the spike disappears. Now 90, this is in degrees, right? Notice that if I go just below 90, the spike appears. If I go above 90, it disappears. Let's zoom in on this so you can see what's happening. All right, you'll notice that at a 90-degree angle, which is right here, it's given it a tiny little clip. All right, so you see when it's below that, you get an absolutely straight angle. When it's above 90, it's clipping the corners, and that's enough to recompute the geometry and give you this perfect model. Now, by the way, this is actually a really cool look. If you want these little beveled clipped edges, all you have to do is go down to Spike Buster and set it above 90, and then every single place on the model where there are those little 90-degree angles, you'll get a clipped edge. So that's sort of a cool thing. Of course, it's not going to affect smooth stuff, but you see here you've got these nice little clipped edges. That's a cool look. So for you guys looking for a new design look, use Spike Buster for that. Now, if for instance Spike Buster didn't work, I want to show you how to clean these things up by hand. All right. Now, normally what you would do in this case, if none of those things work, you flip over to wireframe and then come down here and try to find out which of the vertices is causing the problem. Now it looks like it's this one down in the corner, right? So it means that this is the one that we need to fix. So the first thing you do is make sure everything is sort of deselected, select on it, and then click and drag in one motion to see if there were two vertices sitting on top of each other, 2 points sitting on top. In this case there aren't, and even though we moved it, you'll notice how it didn't fix the geometry, right? It just sort of moved it to a different location. Okay, so that didn't work. You could check the ones around it to see if there's extra geometry there. That doesn't work either. So the next thing to try is to try changing how this point is created. So if we use our convert direction, we'll be able to change this into a smooth. Of course, we never want a loop like that, but if we change it into a smooth point and let go, you'll see that fixes the geometry. Of course, it completely changes the look of the font. So what we can do for that is we can move this and hold down your shift key and it'll snap it to a horizontal and then or a vertical, and then snap this one to a horizontal. Problem of course is that once it does that, we get our spike back. So that's an indication that it's not this point that's causing the problem. The problem's being caused by some other point, and then it's just showing itself up on this point. So let's undo a few times and get back to our nice bad font. And here's what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to take this tool, which is going to add points. Now if I add a point here, you'll notice that nothing happens. Undo. If I add a point here, nothing happens. And at this point I've placed extra points on either side of the one that was causing the problem, so now I'm going to have to get creative. Well, from experimenting with this, I found out that if I stick a point right here, the problem goes away. All right, so that's a way of fixing this issue. The easiest is just by adding one other point someplace else, and then that the problem totally goes away. So there you go. Now it's going to be a little bit of trial and error on your part to find out which exact point is causing the problem. But like you said, like I showed you earlier, if you use the preview and move that until you find the spikes disappear, take whatever that setting is and then match it to final. Make final match it, in other words, and that works. And if that doesn't work, try Spike Buster. So between all three of those, you should be able to get a nice, clean looking model.